In this video, I want to talk about what happens when you crush the ego of a narcissist, what causes a true narcissistic injury, and what are some signs that you've hit that ego and the narcissist is in a tailspin. So what is a narcissistic injury? A narc injury is inflicted when the overinflated ego of the narcissist loses a whole lot of air. You or someone else has truly popped the bubble of the fantasy world the narcissist lives in. And for one brief shining moment, the narcissist saw the truth, what the situation really was or who they really are. They saw and they deny and they run and they hide. Essentially, they eat a little slice of reality, a bigger slice of humble pie, and they get all in their feelings about it. That's essentially what it is. You've hurt their feelings, you've insulted them, you've done something to bruise their incredibly frail and fragile ego. So what exactly causes a really, really big narcissistic injury? Rejection is one of those things that is a huge issue for narcissists. Along with rejection, we can throw in things that are similar and run along the same lines, like abandonment or attachment issues. Most narcissists do have issues with these things, and it all stems from when they were really little. Being rejected, overlooked, that fear of being abandoned, or maybe they were abandoned, being ignored, being forgotten about, can and will hit a narcissist very deeply. All these things cause a huge injury. This is all stuff that in a roundabout way was done to them when they were younger, and it all kind of comes flooding back to them in the moment and causes a big reaction and pulls them all the way back to that moment when they were little, and it still continues to hurt. The narc lives in denial about all of this. They refuse to believe that there's a connection between childhood and adulthood. Maybe they don't deny it, maybe they just don't get it, but most narcissists live in an ongoing state of denial. This is just something that happens and it hurts them, and naturally there's a reaction. Another thing that you can do along with reject is criticize a narcissist, and this can cause a huge injury. With all of these things stemming from childhood and adolescent traumas, this is going to get under a narcissist's skin really quickly when you begin to criticize and critique them. Even the most professionally delivered, nicely said, constructive criticisms are going to be taken in the worst possible way that you can imagine, because narcissists have very low self-esteem. Saying the wrong thing at the wrong time could cause absolute devastation, whether you actually meant to do that or not. So many narc injuries are caused by things where we had no malice in our heart or in our mind when we said the comment, or tried to make a compliment, or tried to make something happen, and it caused this really big injury and really big blow to this person's ego. We weren't even trying to do what had ended up happening. Defeat is another thing that a narcissist will take super personally and get very injured and heated about. Defeat could mean something like maybe they lost a court case, maybe they lost a job, perhaps they were defeated when someone broke up with them and walked away. Because a narcissist's ego needs for them to constantly be right and to quote unquote win everything, whatever that means to them in their mind. Narcissists are very petty. They want to win, just so that you lose in a lot of cases, no more and no less. And them having to admit defeat, most of the time they don't. But that's still a loss that they internalize, and it causes a huge injury. If you'd like to talk one-on-one about what you're going through or what you've gone through in a toxic relationship with a person like a narcissist, you can email BookAChatWithJess@gmail.com to set up private chats with me. And once you've done this, you've inflicted that narcissistic injury, the blow to the ego activates naturally their defense mechanisms. And the defense mechanisms are going to vary, of course, in different people and based on different responses and what's happening to them. All narcissists are made up of defenses for when they feel threatened or if they feel they're losing control, whatever situation they think they need this for. One reaction that you might get if you do cause a huge narcissistic injury is, of course, a very aggressive reaction. These are things like narcissistic rage. And keep in mind that rage doesn't always mean being really physically abusive or really like yelling and screaming and everything to the extreme. It can be something much, much lower on the scale, just them throwing something across the room, maybe not even at you, or just really angry, really annoyed behavior. Narcissistic rage, so to speak, doesn't always mean something is amplified to the 10th power. An aggressive reaction can be quite common, but everybody is different and they might react differently, again, depending on what is happening to them in that moment. On the flip side, sometimes there isn't yelling and screaming and a whole big world war about the situation. There is a passive or possibly passive-aggressive approach to them dealing with an injury like this. With this style of reaction, you're going to get those super common things that I talk about all the time, the silent treatment and any other form of communication cutting, because that's what happens when narcs hit that injury, something's happening. They're going to cut the already super shitty communication that you have with them anyway, because they can't spell communication, let alone actually have it. Depending on what kind of injury has been endured, they might just completely discard or give up and move on to other supply altogether. There are some things that a narcissist can't really come back from. I'm not going to talk about all those things, in the video, but, it being exposed and really bad rejection can cause them to, in some cases, just immediately discard without even having another good source to go to, and they just move on very quickly. Another really common thing they do when all this is happening is they start blame shifting. If you're criticizing them, for example, and it's causing them a really bad injury, they'll start panicking and they might just flip out and say, well, this is all on you. This is all your fault. And those criticisms that you're giving to them, they might in turn begin to criticize you and critique you and try to make you feel bad, making the situation about you so that maybe they can crawl away and go and lick their wounds. They might start making accusations or getting on your case. You're doing something wrong. You're cheating. You're lying. There's something going on that you're not telling them. And again, to deflect and move that spotlight from them onto you, or really onto anybody, so they can crawl away and try to figure out what's happening. A narcissistic injury can and will happen, like I say, whether you do things like reject them or humiliate them, win at something, defeat, whether you mean to do these things, whether you do them with malice or without, whether you're doing this with a purpose or not, the narcissistic injury is going to happen because the ego that the narcissist has is so controlled by somebody else. You can't injure someone's ego when you don't control their ego. Try to make fun of somebody who really doesn't care about what you think. You can't hit their ego. You can't shake this person. I don't encourage this, of course. Don't go after these people and try to do these things. Once we learn someone's weaknesses, it's a really shitty thing to do, to try to go after them and exploit it. These people live in their own personal hell. I promise you, even when it doesn't look that way, they do. So just let them have at this. They don't really need help from you because their life is in that majorly sucks category, so they don't need you to do anything. There's no need to add extra hurt. It would honestly hurt worse for them if you just left the relationship quickly, silently, and just moved on with your life and you were happy. They get angry when you leave them. Don't give them the time of day. Keep moving on with your life. So tell me if you inflicted a narcissistic injury in your situation with a narcissist. What happened? What did you do? Did you do it on purpose? What was the outcome that you were looking for? Tell me all that stuff down in the comments. Please share my videos and my channel if you support and find what I do here helpful. Thank you so much to my kick-ass survivors army for all of the extra support that you give me. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, survivor, and take care of yourself.